Hello everyone, this is Kawarizmi Hisham, the principal of Kawarizmi Architect, and today I would like to talk about our award-winning Perak Road Market City in Jelutong. Jelutong is a neighbourhood south of Georgetown, Penang. Basically, this is where the residents and locals of the island state. The site is located on Jalan Perak, which is cutting through north to south of this particular neighbourhood. It's a super busy road. It is 4-lane road, but to the fact that there's a lot of street traders and hawkers on the roadside, it reduces the usable width of the actual road. The market is actually an existing market, an old existing market that is serving the community, and the vendors actually scattered around the market in the peripheral road, in an annex food court, and also roadside stalls. So fairly small, and the site are just directly behind the market, at least one of the side. And on the other side of the Jalan Perak Road, there is another site, which is site, obviously in this particular slide, is site A. Site A and site B is the potential site proposed by the local council to be the new site of this market. So we begin our discussion on imagining a new typology of market by looking at the current scenario of shopping experiences. The current shopping experiences that we obviously see a surge of online platform became more and more preferred to a physical store. This is not exclusive to manufactured goods, but also fresh goods, especially due to the fact that COVID-19 has tremendously changed how our society works. The idea of having food delivered by online services are now the new normal. The idea was to really rethink how public market could actually be part of the ecosystem of this food delivery binary world, and somehow try to merge the in-betweens, these two worlds of traditional conservative people that like to go to the market to choose by hand, and the younger crowd that will like to have them delivered to their home. But if you look at the trend today, even during this pandemic, people still prefer to go and buy fresh produce by themselves. And the problem is that the market sometimes has a lot of design flaws or relevancy issues that plague the operation of the market. The market are also aging, the infrastructure are failing and very poorly maintained, further reduce and damper efficiency. This is very real, especially when what people need to get to is actually a ready meal rather than homemade meal. So it left the public market to be a ruin, basically. Problems with current market design is fairly obvious. First of all, you need to, because of the market open plan design, you need to go through some type of a produce to get to somewhere. For example, if you want to get to the seafood section, you need to go through the veggie sections. That's a problem. When you see that there is a tremendous amount of overlapping circulation due to the fact that you have no navigational cues, you will try to map out your journey through the market based on the produce you want to buy. At the end of the day, you will pass through an area more than one time. Market also always feature a deep horizontal floor that is dark usually, and basically you need to have artificial lighting even though you operate during the morning. This is one of an example. This is Pasar SS15, which feature a market on the ground floor and a food court on the first floor. And the market, I would say, is fairly dark. It's quite clean. It has one of the largest corridors, circulating corridors, which is good. This is how it looks. This is Pasar in PJ, nearby the digital mall, if not mistaken. And this is Pasar Jalan Perak. The problem in this particular market is that they don't have clear definition or segregation between protein, halal protein, non-halal protein. It creates the opportunity for contamination, cross-contamination between plant-based product and animal-based product. And yeah, sometimes certain vendors finish their early. They will close their store, they will clean it up. We sort of have to walk through these empty and closed stalls, which is not a good sight. And basically, if you walk through their areas, you might mess it up again after they have cleaned it. And in market, it is normal to have secondary stalls, secondary layers, secondary circulation that will not get as much exposure as the primary one, and that is a problem. Another problem is that most of the market that we studied has monotonous programming. This is the market produced breakdown of different markets. And basically, the idea of having a market, this is Pasar SS15 again, is to actually serve the community. In this particular case, since there's a lot of students, working individuals, hence the food and beverage apportionment is larger compared to the rest. And this is digital mall in PJ, again in a very urban area, which there's a lot of people working. A huge percentage of it is the food court. And in this one is Pasar TTDI, is quite a very popular market. It features a market on the first floor, which the ground floor are left empty and meant to be for parking. It is quite an interesting market, and the market feature a huge amount of goods, general goods and services, which is directly reflecting the needs of the local, which is most of the neighboring development is housing estate. Understanding how the process of e-commerce or e-platform market services, they basically receive order from a user through their apps and funnel through data center and respective warehouse, and of course it will be delivered by the parcel services. And if you look at another logistical model in an airport, which actually airport is a condenser of luggage and people, they need to go somewhere. When they go somewhere through flights, they will go to the other side of the world or the other side of the another airport, and then they will do the opposite. There will be a dispersions, and basically we're gonna meet the passenger back with their baggage. So it's sort of like a funnel in and funnel out. And what we're trying to do in thinking of our new market, we want them to have these two qualities of becoming a hub for e-commerce, e-platform application, and deliver fresh food to the user to whom that wants it. And then maybe another way of thinking of traditional way of distributing food, concentration of people and produce, and matching up those produce to respective patrons or buyers. So before we begin, we need to understand how does city and the market relate to one another. And you can appreciate the earliest market to be street market. And basically traders or vendors brought their wares and sell them on the street. That's why in most cities we have market street or market square, and basically this is where they started. And this market has become more and more important because that's where people actually congregate. Hence, political activism activities are also happening in this particular street because the vibrancy and also the amount of people is there. And that does not exclusive for political or social activism activities, but it also cater for religious parade, religious activities, and basically other cultural events. Eventually, since this activity has occupied the street, the market now operate in a simple built shed. And this market shed usually don't have walls. And basically, traders will come in, occupy or lease a space. But the problem is that because of the lack of definition of the boundary of the market, to the fact that the market is quite small to begin with, people start to sell their wares on the street as an extension of the market, and it is sort of like a seamless transition from the street going into the market shed. But it all changed when automobiles actually occupied the roads, and spilling over the road are no longer an option. So what they do, they build more permanent markets to be nearby the shop houses and basically try to complement things that they sold in the market and the shop houses. And as the population of Penang grow, people start to occupy, lease or own shop houses around the market to support, complement the trade that's happening in the market. So in short, this market typology coming from the street to a simple shed now has grown up to a multi-storied integrated complex, which is demonstrated in Pasar Chaurasta. It is multi-level. They have community hall on top, and then basically they are well integrated between general goods and also perishable items. But again, the influx of traders has somehow burst out its seams, and basically traders are still trading around the market, which in a way create better vibrancy in terms of selection, in terms of options for patrons. And basically in the newest edition of Chaurasta, which renovated, which the market complex has been renovated, they have included a multi-story car park at the back, a new loading bay, an improved general goods section, and community hall has been refurbished. Okay, this is where the current state is in Penang. So the market has evolved to a multi-storied complex with multiple amenities. So we can conclude that in terms of typology or market archetype in Penang, it's not a building because it's never a building. However big or large or multi-story the building is, people still trade and exchange on the street. So basically what happened was the shop lots and nearby business establishment actually complement the market activities, and this in turn create a unique market district in Penang. And this scenario happens all the time. But that's what we took to somehow start formulate our proposal. It must have that sense of urbanism or like a small town, because it can't be like a building by itself, due to the fact that have a blurred boundary, and it has to be very relatable to the locals. Basically trying to replant the idea that the market can flow from street to building and flow out, in and out again. So there's a mix of communal facilities to supplement the market offering. And we also thought that it has to be a destination, because if you look at the range of markets in Penang, they have, in Jelutong alone, at this moment of time, they have 4 markets. This market has to be part of the festival, be part of the global event that Georgetown always celebrate. And of course, it has to have a distinct identity from other markets around the world, with the tropical climate, with a specificity of the site and the problems there in the context. And it has to be universally accepted. Hence, the design is fairly neutral in terms of language. We don't intentionally want to make it super conservative, but also, not super flashy as well. And of course, deliciousness of the form, and it must look good, presentable, and of course the smell, the feel must be right. It has to have that communal feeling, and try to basically improve on the logistic infrastructure of a market, so we can have a sustainable infrastructure to supplement our food security issues. So if you have production, if you manage to resolve the issue of production for the sake of food security, we need relevant infrastructure to make sure distribution can happen. So this is part of the thinking in the beginning. And of course, it has to be efficient. There will be no overlapping circulation. There will be a specific loading area, loading nucleus, what we call it, and also management of waste. And this can be helped by improving infrastructure that used to be handled by hand manually. So we can use machinery to improve infrastructure delivery. The market as a whole more or less look like this. It consists of multiple buildings that host a specific produce, and the whole platform is actually raised up. This area is prone to flood. So what we want to do is that to create this resilient public infrastructure that can help the efforts of the authority during such calamity. The idea was first to ensure that all market floor or all market shed are sheltered from impending flood, and in turn they can become a point of rendezvous for people or victim in the surrounding area. Basically, there is a fire station nearby that actually have the equipment, the manpower, the specialty to actually rescue people during flood. So this is a great addition to assist with their effort in terms of resiliency of this particular community. And of course, we have multiple entries. You can enter either from pedestrian bridge at the back and pedestrian plaza from the front. Okay, the connections are assisted by these boulevards and streets that interconnect all sheds and public spaces. The idea was to make sure that all goods travel all goods and people travel vertically. Any travel or circulation that does not help with the shopping experience will travel vertically, because, to be honest, that is a shorter route. And the rest, the whole plaza, the whole floor plate is dedicated for shopping experience. And you can see that the produce are hosted inside this shed. I just want you to imagine this particular market, which have a smaller footprint, will have to be at least 3 to 4 stories, where they're selling goods on different floors. What we're trying to do is we try to use as much space as possible in this one particular site, which is 6.23 acres, to make sure all goods can be sold on the same floor, so you don't have to change floor to get to different produce. Finally, to make sure that we have designed each and every part of the market carefully, we have 3 focus: to improve operational activities with assistance of machinery and other logistical means, and we have to make sure that it is performing above and beyond as a market by catering for cultural and social activities. And our last focus is to make sure that it helps with the efforts of making this particular community more resilient. So the whole market has been laid out as a small city. That's why it's called Perak Road Market City. And you can see that it is actually a place where you can go and discover new parts of the complex. And you can see that it starts with this huge ramp in front. And basically from the bus stop here, you can go up directly to the market level. In the market, you will be greeted by a middle plaza, and for navigation throughout the market city, you have this clock tower. Really, the clock tower will host a small observation deck that also serve as a control center if there is such event that need elevated view coordination. So the market is actually in a sort of an oval shape with 2-tier traffic, circular traffic. So we have elevated ring traffic on top, and another one ring on the ground. You can see that all this focus has generated special features on the market that make sure that it serves towards the 3 focus that we discussed earlier. So, urban market, it designed as a sort of an urban fabric, and then it has the second layer street, so you are always detached from the vehicles. It hosts an array of public sphere space, and you can enter with a lot of from different direction with different transportation or means. And of course, clock tower is part of the make sure that we have more resiliency by having elevated views. We have orchard for bees, and all market services are actually concealed underneath the plaza, so there will be no lorry loading or unloading on the perimeter of the market due to the fact that we have a logistic core in the middle, and we have separate ingress and egress for logistical vehicle and vehicle for patrons. And due to the fact that we have stacked the loading bay and the shed above, we can have a vertical delivery. Means it's going to be shorter, going to be faster, cleaner. And of course, we have 2 pavilion at the back in a cone shape, and at the front in an oval shape that can turn into temporary fruit seasonal fruit, the durian, manggis stalls, or like a food truck kind of thing. It could be interchanged into even tourist bus depot to encourage people to come. And basically, this is another main point. We need to make sure that every stall get a front exposure. We kind of try to make sure that there is no such secondary lane for the stall approach or exposure. So it's a tricky thing, but I think we managed to do it. Of course, we want it to be one of a kind for tourists to appreciate, so that the market could have a longer time span of usage. So we want to create a 24-hour, seven days a week kind of vibrancy here. So we try to make sure that it is unique. It is flood-proof. The market floor level is 7 meter high from the ground. And of course, as I mentioned before, we have bomber around to coordinate disaster response if there is any, and become a food distribution center, as a base. The market feature a single market floor. The market feature different uniquely designed market shed with different thermal performance, different energy performance, different temperature, and they can also have different operational time. So for example, like a seafood shed or seafood market, for example, they will start very early, usually at 4 a.m. and they will end fairly early as well, like maybe 10. So the idea of every part of the market has to work at all time doesn't make sense, because we need to understand sometimes the idea of having the market as an open plan or as a single plate is not good, to the fact that people will walk through closed stalls that has just been cleaned by their vendors and basically make a mess of it again. So the idea of having this shed separate by their produce that they host ensure each stall can operate clean and close at the time that they prefer, to ensure cleanliness, to ensure the best shopping experience, so that you have every vendors for you to choose from. Not you have to go through veggie to get to meat, you have to go through fruit to get to general goods. So it's not good. Sometimes a portion of the market is dark. That will not happen in this one. As I mentioned, we designed this to ensure you have the freedom of choice going through the market city your own, to create your own shopping experience. The People's Plaza are there to host social, cultural activities, urban farming for educating about food security, and of course the cycle of organic matter. We do include a helipad in the competition entry, so it's kind of a bit far-fetched, but the idea was to make sure that it is DCA approved helipad that actually can be used if we need to provide medical assistance during disaster. And of course, the plaza has the open space if you need to build extra accommodation for temporary shelters, and they will actually complement the community hall that actually have the ability to host them to begin with. And this is how it looks facing towards the plaza. We have the auditorium going up eventually to the 8 greenhouses, and you are looking at this pink community hall. We have bicycle lanes around the market complex. People can run, people can play, socialize, have fun. Basically, we try to emulate the original Perak Road Market that we saw a lot of people actually socializing underneath trees. And in this particular case, you can see the clock tower is fairly clear, and you can orientate yourself in this particular city or small complex. This is the plan. You can see that there is a separate service entrance that goes into a logistic core that will have some dry storage, wholesale market for B2B transaction, business to business transactions, all this services rooms, and of course patron car park. I think this is quite tricky because we need to face such a high number. I think this is close to 390 if not mistaken. And basically we have the ramp that goes up to the upper ring road and the ramp that goes down. This is the view. I think the logistic core is the main feature of the ground floor. And as we go one floor up, this is the general good retail rotunda. It creates sort of like an endless cycle of retail goods that you can browse and shop. And we have a small portion of the food court. And basically what we do is that we make sure that all the shops have this sort of main frontage. And of course the food court continue to the floor above. This is how it looks. There's multiple sizes, and basically they have a service corridor at the back as well to assist with loading, locking their premise, and also to make sure that it is, a proper logistical hierarchy of circulations. This is the second floor, which is the market floor, and we have the food court continuing from the floor below, and this is where the main ramp from the bus stop is. You can straight go up to level 2. This is where the pedestrian bridge and bicycle lane are, and this is the market sheds with a community hall. You can see that they are actually fronting this boulevard with a cutting through roads or smaller street at the back. And this blue ring is actually the car circulation. They have the options to drop off here, 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 and here. So basically we have this sort of a rotunda again, a second layer rotunda of vehicular access. This is how it looks. It's been intertwined with green spaces, landscaping in between the sheds. And on the roof plan, you can observe the distinct characteristic of this market is instantly recognizable. That's what we hope we achieve here, and eventually be one of the contributing factor on enriching the life of people that live around this market. Sections, yes, appreciating the section cutting through the market. You can see that there's a lot of things going on. The sections illustrate the positioning of the shed in relation to the ground floor. The ground floor is fairly left empty. Almost no trading spaces are on the ground floor to avoid the impending flash flood. And the idea was to ensure that all market sheds have access to the logistical core. So you can see that in the ground there's a lot of logistical space, and on the first floor is all the market sheds. So they are directly above the logistical core and make it easier to transport them vertically rather than horizontally. Of course, you have access from pedestrian bridge on the other side of the site, which you can go up and go down without ever crossing a road or traffic. On the other section, we're cutting through the food court. You can see that the ground floor are mostly occupied by car park, and then the above floors are occupied by the food court. And on this side, we have a clearer view of the logistical core. Obviously, it is deep. The floor plate are deep, but we make sure that there's an ample natural light going through the bottom, so to make sure that the complex is sustainable. And what we observe here is the ramp that goes up to the elevated road, and of course the lift cutting through multiple floors down to the car park. This is the photo that been taken by the PAM Northern Chapter chairman during the competition presentation. Obviously, if you look at the picture carefully, there's a lot of charging panels, and I'm alone. In a way, not a bad investment of time and effort. Say we won first prize due to the fact that we took the whole site of 6.23 acres just for the market. Meanwhile, the other submissions were dedicating 1 or maximum 2 acres of land just for the market, and the rest are been filled up with apartments. This approach, I would say, fairly distinct and easily recognizable, have a positive outcome at the end. And of course, the Chief Minister of Penang, the Mayor of Penang Island, MBPP, the 2 Aduns here in white, and of course Julutong MP is been briefed about our winning schemes, and I have the opportunity to talk with them, and they were pleasantly intrigued on how the market could serve more than just a market. Bear in mind, early on, Penang is filled with market owned by the local council. So they're just looking at new model on what a market could be in this particular island state. What happened after that is that we've been appointed to make sure that our assumption are supported by data, and we need to see or gauge the acceptance of the local community. So we did 3 parts research. First, collection of data using surveys and also workshop. And then on the second phase, sort of creating a framework for housing that will be displaced on current site and the new market design. And eventually in phase 3, we will produce the RFP, request for proposal document for potential developers to bid on. So the idea for phase 1 is through 3 thrusts, which is online survey and in situ on-site survey, and of course the workshop, design workshop. And we have collected information that is relevant from general public to serve as a control. to be compared to the specificity of the people on site. And the survey on site has been done in this 500-meter radius. Some of them can go online, of course, to get their voices heard. And basically what we do is that we are also sending flyers to encourage people to come to the workshop. The workshop has been conducted in a school, and we have 50 something participants. We have divided them into 4 groups, and we have produced 4 modules for them to execute. They will do a module and swap to the next module with other groups, and eventually each group will go through all 4 modules. The information has been synthesized, analyzed, and eventually we produce a document that actually talks about the results. And this is some of the image of the workshop. So we have help from my ex-student from Taylor's. We have some students from USM to help us with the facilitating the participants. And of course, we produce these modules in 4 stations with very brief instruction, very easy, very visual. And basically we help them to express themselves. Sometimes word and visual or physical expression is not that helpful to make sure that we have a clear picture of what kind of market they really need. So if you look at it in module 2, we have images of different subsets of architectural style, finishes, to help us create a mood board and indication of what they do like or what they don't like. And we have a good support from the local council, MBPP. They sent, I'm not mistaken, over 20 officers from different departments came down to facilitate and hear directly from the locals. This is where the local registered, and it starts with a brief presentation and explanation on the exercise they're about to conduct, some explanation of the project, and of course briefing on the exercise that they're about to participate in. Of course, food is important. This is Malaysia, so we have to include food as part of the tentative, and off they go. They are very surprised, to be honest. They responded with positivity, even though we thought we might have some negative perception to be dealt with. But most of them are surprised that we care about their opinion, we care about what do they have to say, and they are very appreciative of the room that we gave for them to express their concern. And even though most of them are Hokkien speaking individuals, and of course my ex-student from Taylor's, Jocelyn Tan, are a great help in translating some of their concern, we managed to go by mainly due to the fact that the exercise has been designed through visual means, and they don't need that much or that detail of an instruction to actually participate. So this is what they produce. They are fairly happy. You can see some images keep popping up, creating sort of like a generic consensus on what kind of architectural style, finish, look, feel that they would like to have in their new market. And mind you, this are all traders, some of them coming from Traders Association, Resident Association around the market. and eventually we collect the data and try to see if there is a pattern. And of course there is. Model 3, we ask them to rank facilities from least important to the utmost important, and this is sort of a collective effort. Each group have 12, 13 members. They will discuss, argue, debate, and try to give a rank of all these facilities. We just want to make sure that we provide the facilities that they actually need or required, and try to balance out with something that they might think it is too excessive. So on the last exercise, they just need to somehow give us an idea of a good alternative layout. So we create some constants, for example the boulevard location and where the plaza is. Of course we want it to be the heart in the center of the complex, and the community hall will be flanking the plaza. So there are some parts of this exercises are fixed, and the rest is fairly open. So this is what they do. They again try to get a consensus, try to understood why a particular produce should go at this location and why a particular produce should go to the other location. And some of the results are fairly similar and very informative. So from this information and from this exercise, that we deeply appreciate the people there that actually try to make the design works better by providing the local and contextual insight. We really appreciate. Even the Adon's PA did come to the workshop. I presented the report on this research to the City Hall, and this is some of the summary. And basically you can see that they want the site that previously were proposed in site B, they wanted to move to site A. Yeah, so we have to redesign in a way. And this is the utmost important facilities, of course food court, and followed by CCTV. Okay, it seems like there is some concern of security. And of course police kiosks are also high on the ranking, reflecting the situation on the neighbourhood, and kiosks for MBPP customer service. So this is all helpful. And again, they need to identify additional role that the market could play, and a lot of them, both online and on-site, has voted predominantly it has to be a community center. And this is the most selected images. You can see some trend here. So the first column is definitely vibrancy, diversity, options, and the second one is of course most of the images reflecting to the iron rod or the industrial look, or a simple structure. I would say simple steel structure, simple layout, straight linear layouts, and addition of landscape, huge trees, shady, cozy environment. The operation side of it, they would like to have bigger space, higher ceiling, and then of course clean. And we also provide dry item warehouse, cold storage, so that they can have slightly infrequent deliveries, so they can last for 2 days or something like that. They will be rented or leased to the vendors that are interested. The new operation time, basically we ask them if it should be a 24-hour market. They all agree. And you can see that most of the people that go to the market in this particular workshop went there in the morning, so it must be supplemented with other activities, other programs on the afternoon, evening, to make sure that it is alive 24-hour. And when we talk about parking, most of them came here using motorcycle, and we have a good number that go to the market by walking. So this is all great. We have this information of motorcycle outweigh car in terms of preference of transport. And additional services, this is a bit high end. They're asking for a fast food chain. New layout is fairly similar, but with few changes of pork market swap with chicken and beef, which is fine. Halal protein will be on one side, and non-halal one will be on the other side. So since then, we have produced multiple versions. Of course, the most obvious one, we have to change the site. Then some of the officers and MBBP said taking 6.23 acre site might be too excessive, so they asked us to reduce, and we did have a version that's slightly compact with one story higher. And then when the mayors look at it, he said he liked the original one, which the one that he judge and be part of the competition panel. And basically we get a request to relocate 3 temple from the existing site to the new master plan, and eventually we get approved by council on version 6. But of course we are still long way to go to actually build the market. Now we're going to look at the latest version of the market design. So right now, if you look at this particular floor plate, it is the ground floor plate. We have maintained the main feature of the market on the ground floor, which is the logistical core. Logistic core is flanked by 2 M&E rooms. The entrance mount in the front help people to go up from the ground floor. And we have dedicated entrance lobby for the user to come up to the market floor, either from the east lobby, which is the mount, the south lobby, there is 2 of south lobby, 2 north lobby, and then 1 west and 1 middle. So basically you have the proximity to your car park to any entrance to the higher floor of the market. This is where the location of the lift and staircases are. You can see that some of the lobby has escalators and has disabled ramp support. And of course, using lift, disabled people can easily go up to the floor they want. And on both sides, there will be car ramp that goes up to level 2, which is the floor market. And in the logistic core, we have improved the base from 7 bays to 12, and now we have featured 4 cargo lift, 2 cargo ramps that can manually go up to 2nd floor. And of course we have a delivery app station so that we can serve all this e-platform, and of course the warehouse for dry and cold storage, and also some area for wholesale transaction to be done between business, B2B transaction. And the garbage house is directly under the mount, covering the water treatment plant, the solid treatment plant, organic treatment plant. And at the back, we have the festivity crescents, which going to correlate with the temple complex. So basically, if we need extra space for any festivities, we can just close off that road, and basically we can create an alternative drop-off for the market goers, so it will not disrupt, it still go on as normal. And on top of that, we have some additional space for the temple goers. So this is the first floor. The first floor mainly featured the huge void in the middle that correlate to the lower logistical core, and the logistical core features this 4 sets of cargo lifts with ramps. So they are here correlating to the lower ramps. They goes up, and then eventually all the vertical circulation, you can see that it is well distributed, especially the mount in front will help you to navigate to any floor that you need to go. There is a ring of retail. We still try to remain the original idea of having a retail rotunda, even though the shape is slightly different right now due to the fact that we have to optimize the site geometry. We still have the food court, a portion of the food court on the first floor, and basically continue up. The idea was to create a second layer of services, amenities, management office, welfare office of MBPP to ensure that people get the service that they need from their local council. On the second floor, which is the market floor, the market is actually consists of middle open plaza and the main concourse where people actually drop off or load or unload their wares. So this is for dedicated for patrons, and previously we have a circular ring road. Now we have reduced vehicular access to half of the site, but we have improved the amount of lanes and buff up and make them a bit more beefier. Now it features a 5-lane concourse. So you can see that there is a departure island in the middle where you can get on and off your e-hailing services or maybe your spouse. And then of course we have a arrival foyer, just like in an airport. We have these 5 lanes. You can stop, you can load and unload your market produce and basically take off from there. And this concourse mimics the loading concourse that you see in a Kia store, which you can stop there for a short term and then load your furnitures. The same concept applies. It's a marriage between IKEA loading base, loading concourse plus an airport departure lane. All those vertical circulation continues to this floor. It's fairly evident that the circulation is well distributed, and there is a few logistical back lane. So from the cargo lift, you see highlighted in red, the vendors can go through these yellow streets and eventually go to the back to replenish their stock and basically try to make sure that the operation are shielded from the view of the patrons. And this is the main market boulevard, the circulatory veins of this particular project, supported by secondary path, secondary streets, and the crisscrossing of the streets and boulevards, the in-between will host the sheds, the produce shed. So basically, the idea was to separate the animal-based markets on one side and plant-based market on the other side to ensure that there is no cross-contamination between these two material. And the idea was to ensure that each market has the opportunity to work independently and to work with their own subsets of rules, to work with their own subsets of optimal operation in terms of temperature, timeline, etc. And if you are a vegan and you are living a vegan lifestyle, you have the option to just go to one side of the market and you don't have to, smell the smell of meat that might make you vomit. Or if you are a Muslim and you don't need to go to the non-halal market section. And basically, this is what is lacking in the original Perak Road Market. Perak Road Market doesn't have that clear division. And this is all the public spaces, the green buffer spaces in between. And of course, we have featured some amenities like community hall, disabled toilet, surau, playground, and of course, a city gallery in the clock tower. And any kind of user that actually came to this market will have their own path and journey. Some family might indulge in entertaining their children in the playground. Some might go through there, with their spouse and take e-hailing services like Grab. Some might be working with Food Panda, trying to deliver cooked food from the food court. They can go through down in the logistical core to do so. Now we shall go to the walkthrough video, and I will narrate them as we go through. The video begins our journey through the market from the Jalan Perak moving forward to the market, and basically you're going to be fronted with this step plaza that offer ramp accessibility, staircase, escalators for you to go up to the market level. And of course, this is where you can drop off your spouse or elderly for them to go into the market. This is where the entrance portal is, and the idea was to create this social space on this step plaza. Moving up, you have the opportunity to go straight in this first floor to the general goods, or you can go up one floor up to the market level, and you'll be fronted with this playground. Eventually there is a market shed around, and this is the huge amount of space that they requested, that we are given them, to the fact that we have the opportunity to do so when the market level we have infinite sky height. And another sections where this is the sell vegetables, plant-based market is airy. Everyone has a good frontage, and basically we try to make sure that the market have a unique characteristic by their colors, color coding, logos, and also try to create identity throughout the whole complex. So this is the seafood market. You can see that abundance of lights, good ventilations, to the fact that we have good ceiling height, and make sure that it is compact, it is clean. And this is non-halal market section, which I think offers good visibility to all vendors, and basically try to make sure that it is always presentable. Moving on, we are now looking at the general goods sections, and this is where you can wait for your spouse or e-hailing service. To go up to that level, you can go up through the ramp from the ground floor, and now you reach the market floor. And this is where we see the 5 lanes of possible vehicular usage. And after you're done picking up somebody, or picking up a passenger, you can just go down and you will be directed to the outflow to the front road. This is another way to go in, elevated walkway from a nearby service apartment. We have bicycle shed facilities, and of course the in-between corridors of each shed will be fairly lighted up, ventilated, in order to make sure that the smell are dispersed away. Now we are in a community hall where they can actually enjoy recreational activities, social activities, cultural activities. And when the hall is not enough, the public plaza can be in turn utilized for activities that actually benefit the community. Bear in mind, in this particular neighbourhood, there are practically no open space that they can actually enjoy. There are barely any public parks or open space that they can actually utilize in such scale. So for the younger crowd, maybe they can have an EDM carnival here at night. It could be like a 2 or 3 days sort of like sets. And basically, if you are not into that, maybe we can put additional vendors. They're selling a lot of goods, putu mayam, nasi lemak, all this on motorcycles, so we can accommodate them. Of course, this is what the visual looks like more high-end, up-class food trucks. And of course, the abundance of trees and shades is important to the fact that there's a lot of seniors that like to enjoy talking with their friends under the shade of tree, and this is, try to give them space to do that. For children, there's a lot of space for enjoying their weekends. For parents, it's good for them to be outside home once in a while, especially after COVID-19. The clock tower feature observation deck and of course skylights to lighted up the logistical core, and you can see that the logistical core is fairly well coordinated with scheduled staggered timeline to ensure there will be no traffic inside the logistical core, and on this side is where the garbage house is. So the whole complex look like a small city, okay, and have a good connection to its surrounding context. The complex feature different market sheds that host different market produce with a distinct characteristic, and basically the market offers ease of accessibility either through foot, vehicular means, or bicycle with an elevated road. At the tip of the site, we can see the temple has been combined into one structure that actually serve their specific belief system. Each market shed are easily recognizable with their unique profile, giving a rich urban experience in this particular small market city. Try to redefine the typology of what public wet market is. We also think about the idea of creating a high performance public infrastructure that goes beyond its intended purpose, and you can see that it is well beyond. It's been designed to be serving more than just a typical market, and as a whole it is a living and thriving creature, and hopefully it will transform the neighbourhood of Jelutong for a better one. I think that is all. Thank you for your attention.